places of which we are part of can be understood as an ongoing composition of traces. Anderson, 2010. However, sometimes we can be so involved with these places that we do not recognise the cultural traces that have been created around us. They have become so much part of our everyday life. Using the example of a train station, this film will show how these cultural traces play out in our everyday life. As Edwards, cited by Bizzle 2009, recognised, railway stations have often been characterised as presenting a microcosm of urban life, since it is a place where tourists, commuters, salesmen, retailers, train spotters and the homeless converge. As we can see in this video, passengers play an intricate role in creating the place of a train station. Bizzle 2009 identifies that instead of conceptualising bodies moving across or above the surface of the station, through their movement, passengers are wholly entangled and embedded into the fabric of the station. This begins to question why passengers move in the way that they do. How are they entangled and embedded into the fabric of the station, as Bizzle says? Who creates this sense of place you can feel in the train station? Is it the passengers themselves, or is it another power acting down on them? Who, in a way, is in charge? Who has the power to make their traces the hegemonic ones, the unquestioned, the doxa? As Anderson reflects, some traces have the ability to transform the identity and definition of a place in important ways, while some do not. These traces that can transform places are known as dominating traces, as these enjoy the power to impose their own ideas, value systems and beliefs onto places. They have the ability to impose their own cultural order. First off, if we look at the following clips, there are obvious places within the train station that have been created for certain activities, such as the first-class carriage. This exists not only on the platform, but on the train itself, with the front of the carriage being designated to first-class passengers, the back being designated to standard class. The physical position of these carriages alone says something about the hierarchy placed on these different classes and cultures. If we look at this clip, the opposite platform has about 100 people on. Every single person is abiding by the rule of the train station behind the yellow line. Although obvious safety precautions behind this, it does show where one authority is imprinting its traces onto another. Continuing to examine the place of a train station, we can see plenty of traces left behind by authority. For example, CCTV cameras, designated bicycle areas, railings separating two parts of the stairs, keep left signs, and all of these are unquestioned yet followed by the passengers of the railway. By doing this, they are leaving their own traces behind. One prime example of where the dominating culture, the authorities, have tried to enforce their ideas and beliefs onto another culture is in the case of Warrington Bank Quay Station, as this following clip from the Telegraph 2009 shows.
To kiss or not to kiss? That's the question at one railway station. Warrington Bank Quay Station in Warrington, Cheshire has introduced a no kissing zone in the hope that it will cut back delays to passengers and those waiting to park their cars. The sign was placed at the passenger drop-off point. Virgin Rail, which runs the station, defended the idea by saying that if passengers wanted to kiss and say goodbye, their loved ones should pay to park their cars nearby. But it's not a tax on kissing. Bosses added that there are kissing zones as well as non-kissing areas. The signs, though, have not been embraced by everyone.
So that's the daftest thing I've ever heard of.
Why?
Well, why tell people that they can't kiss?
I think it's very odd. I think it's a bit silly, really. Kiss where you want to kiss.
While staff did not comment on how exactly they intend to enforce the new signs, they did admit it's not 100% serious.
As identified in the report, some have followed these rules, however, others have purposely gone against it. They have been resisting to the hegemonic power. These purposeful decisions are leaving traces on the cultural world. This leads on to a further issue. As Creswell 1996 explores, certain behaviours, cultures, people are deemed out of place. For example, in the case of Warrington train station, kissing was deemed out of place by the authorities, seen as a nuisance and not the proper way to act outside a train station. For this, Creswell gives the example of Central Station in New York. 1980s, the mayor at the time introduced an anti-loitering law in order to give reason to remove the homeless, who he deemed were out of place. To explain his decision, he used the reasoning of common sense. I quote, "You can't stay here unless you're here for transportation. Reasonable, rational people would come to that conclusion, right?" However, as we can see in these clips, and especially in the case of Central Station, people use the train stations for much more than transportation. So therefore, surely it's not common sense to remove the homeless, because they are not there for proper uses. Otherwise, you'd also have to remove those using the Central Station as a meeting place, a place to go for lunch, a place to admire the architecture and take pictures. The homeless are being removed because they are deemed out of place, and not in fitting with the image Mayor Koch wanted to create. This leads on to the changing scenery of a train station, how the uses have changed, and how people use the spaces as a consequence. As already explored, there are different acts that are deemed appropriate, but who makes these actions appropriate? Is it the placing of shops, cafes, tourist information desks that makes these behaviours appropriate in a train station? It is because there is now a proper place for them. In Mayor Koch's view, would these actions now be deemed acceptable, or are they still not conforming to the proper use of a train station? Going back to Creswell's reading, he states that we can only recognise the norm when something out of place, abnormal happens. As a quote, "Transgressive acts prompt reaction that reveals that which was previously considered natural and common sense." A good example of this is the case of the changing signs within the London Underground.
On the Underground, there are many stickers giving advice and warnings, but sometimes they're replaced with something else. They range from the humorous to the rebellious, and a website has even been set up for pictures taken on the Central Line.
This one is customer notice. We apologise for any incontinence caused during these engineering works.
This man makes and sells some of the stickers, and was happy to tell us why, but only if we didn't broadcast his identity.
I think it's a form of rebellion. People are bombarded by hundreds of different adverts and signs every single day. People want something that's a bit different and want to create their own message.
In this bike repair shop in Islington, 5 stickers can be bought for £2.50. There's no indication on the packaging, though, as to who makes them. Transport for London says putting the stickers up is technically illegal and could be considered criminal damage. One academic finds this phenomenon interesting.
The guerrilla signage, I think, in a sense, is people reacting against being treated like kids. In a way, it's saying, look, we should be treated as adults, allowed to make decisions about our conduct for ourselves. We don't need 5, 10, 15, 30 signs all around us instructing us on common forms of decency.
But another view may be that this is just a new form of vandalism.
It's not graffiti. Stickers can be removed if they so wish. It's not the most heinous crime there is.
Transport for London says the majority of the signs are to provide safety-related guidance, and it thinks customers' needs are best met when the originals are left alone. Gareth Furby, BBC London News.
As well as showing Creswell's point that transgressive acts prompt reaction to usually taken for granted norms, it also highlights that people can be resistant to the dominating culture. Whether it be seen as fun, rebellion, or vandalism, as the man who creates the stickers said in the clip, it is a way of people creating their own message, leaving their own traces and marks on the train station, and not being ordered and boarded by the dominating culture. This film has shown that a train station as a place can be understood as an ongoing composition of traces, as Anderson 2010 stated, with many different cultures acting within the station making it what it is, whether it be signs placed by the authorities, designated first-class areas, bicycle areas, or kissing areas, the introduction of shops to change the use of the train station, or transgressive acts such as rebelling against the signs. It is evident that people's beliefs and ideas play an important role in creating the space. As Bizzle 2009 identified, people are embedded and entangled within the station.